Catholic officials made another effort today to confront a scandal that has shamed and dishonored the Church. Philadelphia's cardinal offered what he called his deepest apologies and heartfelt sorrow to anyone sexually victimized by a priest. But in confronting this crisis, the question tonight is, can the Church go too far? This week, Massachusetts priest George Spagnolia went public to deny accusations he sexually abused a teenage boy more than 30 years ago. Nevertheless, Spagnolia was removed from his duties. Two guests join us to discuss the Catholic Church's response to sexual abuse, or perhaps their lack of response. In San Diego, California, retired priest Richard Sipe. He is also a psychotherapist who has counseled pedophile priests. Sipe, it seems that, for decades, the Church's way of handling this was basically ignore it or simply transfer the priest. I think what some people called a geographic cure, which, of course, was no cure at all. What does the Church have to do now? What concretely can the Church do, both to solve this problem and to improve its image?
Well, I don't know what they have to do to improve it, but I think what's happening is a breakdown of the system of secrecy. And I think this case in Lowell is just a fascinating response to the whole dynamic.
Fascinating in what way?
Well, something is breaking down. The old system of hiding it, of denying it, of covering it up, paying off, is breaking down. People are saying, we want honesty. And of course, this is an open confrontation as I understand it. And I'm sure there are going to be more of this kind of thing that says, look, let's fight out in the open. Let's
Richard,
not... Yes, go ahead.
Richard, you have counseled pedophile priests.
And victims. Mostly, yes.
And victims. Is there something inherent in the Church or in the way the system is built that causes this problem to continue?
Well, I think there is something in the system that has caused the problem to continue or facilitated its continuance. I think there's no argumentation about that. The cover-up, the switching around, the denial, the paying off, or the intimidation of victims, none of that has helped. None of that has worked. And so we're at a breaking point now. There's something entirely new. And the victims have a voice. And
how much of, in Newsweek, I think this week, it said that in a sense that in many cases pedophiles are attracted to the priesthood. Is that true? And if so, why? And what can be done about it?
Well, I suppose unconsciously there are a certain number of people who are attracted to minors, who gravitate toward places where they can, where children can be available to them, teachers and certain coaches and scout leaders, etc. But we must remember that that's only a small proportion of any of those groups. And the thing we have to find out is how the system, or does the system, encourage that, foster that, perpetuate that, make it easy for people to lose themselves among all the good teachers, among all the good priests, among all the good parishioners.
Richard, I just want to point out, we're having problems with our audio with Phil, otherwise we would have him join the discussion now. So as soon as we get audio with him, we'll go back to him. But
sure.
In counseling pedophile priests, I mean, how do you go about counseling? My understanding from talking to therapists who work with pedophiles is really that, in effect, there is no cure, that there are ways to try to control the behavior, control the thought process, but there is no cure.
Yes, well, in pedophilia, you're talking about a psychiatric entity, and you're talking about a specific psychiatric entity. Those men, usually, who are attracted to prepubescent children. We're not talking, when you talk about pedophilia, of attraction to teenagers or children past pubescence to their 18th year of life. So it's a very specific kind of person. And most of the sexual activity that is alleged with teenagers. So pedophilia is very, very difficult. That's a special kind of attraction. And people can't help what sexually attracts them or sexually excites them, but it must be controlled. Now, you go to the attraction to the adolescents, and you're a little different ballgame. Now, it's still illegal, and it's still non-celibate. And it's still very, very damaging to victims.
How much does celibacy play a role in this? I mean, does that have any effect in this whatsoever, or is it simply the mind frame of the person the mind frame the person had when they entered the priesthood?
No, celibacy does play a factor. Celibacy is not the cause, but celibacy does play a factor in attraction of a priest to adolescents. And I think it happens in several ways. One is that many priests and the system of priesthood and celibacy does foster immaturity. There have been studies, even the bishop studies have said that. Now, the second thing is that we have an entity here that not many people have talked about yet, and that is what I call transient sexual attraction to adolescents. These priests get out, they've been in a very structured environment, they've got all their buddies, everybody's marching to the same drummer. They get out into a parish, and in a sense, they kind of fall in love for the first time. And they have this experience that they really have never had. And it can happen only once, or it can happen with only two people. Not that that's right, but it can happen that in that regard. And then the person moves on and is ready to have a relationship with a more mature person.
All right, Richard, I'm sorry we are out of time, and again I want to apologize to the viewers and also to Phil Saviano. We again had a technical problem with him, but Richard Sipe, we appreciate you being with us, and Phil as well. The Point will return in just a moment.